What's going on YouTube? So the Tahoe has long dominated the full-size SUV segment, but things are heating up big time. Jeep is coming in strong with this, the heavily refreshed Grand Wagoneer. This replaces both the Wagoneer and the Grand Wagoneer and is poised to take on the Tahoe and Yukon like never before, especially with its new 647 horsepower E-Rev powertrain. So, is this the Tahoe killer? Well, let's go ahead and find out. So jumping right in here with the exterior, let's go ahead and talk a little bit about just the overall naming and the trim structure of this model. So what Jeep has actually done is they took the Wagoneer and the Grand Wagoneer and they've consolidated it for 2026 under just the Grand Wagoneer nameplate. That does mean that now the Grand Wagoneer is available at that lower price point that the Wagoneer previously accomplished. Also, you might notice that we now have the traditional Jeep logo right there on the hood. Now, in terms of the rest of the front end design, it's significantly different from what it was before. You can see they've really gone with a more upscale grille. The grille itself is positioned a lot higher and it's very horizontal across the face, using a lot of lighting elements. So this is all going to be illuminated through here and it kind of casts down onto the grille itself, giving it a very premium design. And of course, down here on the lower part, you have a nice looking and large grille. Now, in terms of the rest of the lighting, this is also brand new. You can see we have a premium full LED arrangement, of course, as you'd expect for a full-size SUV. It's going to blend seamlessly in with the grille, and then you also have lower lighting elements down here, kind of making this hammer-like shape. Now, moving on to the wheels, of course, we have brand new designs for 2026. As you can see, a very nice look to this. This is a fully loaded example, and we also have the Obsidian package, which is going to black out certain elements throughout the exterior of the vehicle. Now, one thing I want to point out is that one of the new trims for 2026 is actually located right behind me. This is the new Upland version, and this is going to be a little bit more of an off-road capable model. I pointed out at the wheels because this is also the trim that comes with all-terrain tires, and you can see that it has pretty distinctly different look from the rest of the lineup. Another element I want to point out over here is, of course, we have a charge port. I'm not going to get into the individual details of this advanced powertrain just yet, stay tuned. But this is, of course, a extended range electric vehicle for the very first time with a lot of power, as I was saying at the introduction. Now, in terms of the mirrors here, very large mirror, gloss black finish with that Obsidian model, and of course, it's fully equipped with all the luxury features.
Now, at the side of the Grand Wagoneer, you will notice that we have a very big SUV. Of course, the overall sizing is going to remain the same. This is technically just a refresh. So we're looking at about 215 inches in length for the standard wheelbase version. The L version will actually add a foot to that, so it'll be about 227 inches in length. And that does make this one of the largest full-size SUVs that you can buy on the market. Now, as terms of design here at the side, since we have the Obsidian, all of our window surrounds are nice and blacked out. And speaking of some of the darkened elements, they really have gone for a kind of death of chrome, as Jeep calls it. So they don't really have a lot of those chrome elements anymore because they saw that as unenvironmentally friendly. So a lot of the elements are going to be darkened out for the 2026 model year, including our roof up here at the top, which is very unique and cool for this full-size SUV segment. Now, as we move around to the back of the Wagoneer, as you can see, they have made some tweaks for 2026, but it's certainly not as big of an upgrade as what we see in the front. So in terms of individual design touches, we don't have a spoiler or anything, and we do have an exposed wiper through here. We do have new Jeep branding for 2026 here in the rear, and then really the newest element are these taillights. So as you can see, we have the signature Wagoneer look, but we do have revised individual LED elements. These are sequential turn signal indicators, and they're also fully LED. They look very premium once they're lit up, and then it goes all the way across the back. This element here in the middle is also slightly revised, and you will notice that we have a couple new branding pieces here on the back. Dropping down to the lower fascia, as you can see, this is all a black gloss black finish, and we have a 10,000 pound tow capacity on this model, which is class leading. Now, this is still a very early review of the Grand Wagoneer, so we don't have official trim level information. However, we do expect all of your active safety features to remain standard equipment for 2026 and even have available features like a hands-free driving system. Now, I also want to point out, you may have really enjoyed the exterior color of this model. This is known as Ghost, and that is also a new color for 2026 known as Steel Blue. So they've added 4 new colors to the lineup to kind of diversify the color lineup and give you more bold options this year. But guys, there's some stuff to talk about on the inside as well. But first, if you're new here, we're brothers, and we've been reviewing cars since we were 12
and 16. We started young, and since then we have reviewed over 2,000 vehicles at every price point.
No matter what you're looking for, from humble to high-end, we'd love for you to subscribe to be a part of our Car Confections family.
Let's learn a lot and have some fun with all the latest cars. All right, let's check out the interior. Of course, you have a smart entry system, as you'd expect, and they also have power deploying running boards. Normally, this vehicle is dead because people have been in and out of it all afternoon. But let's check out this interior. So, right off the bat here, I want to go ahead and talk about a nice change. You can tell that the color is a little bit different. We've got a new red interior, which I think is a super cool and bold new option to be adding to the lineup. Certainly something you don't really expect to see on a full-size SUV, and I definitely appreciate it overall. Now, in terms of what you get here, this is going to be a very high-end example, so we've got all the nicest stuff. You have fine leather with quilting going throughout. You have your leather covered even down here at the bottom. The controls for the seats are over here on the door trim. You've got massage, all the full features that you would expect to see. But again, this will be available in a lot of lower price points as well, since Grand Wagoneer is now encompassing even that regular Wagoneer's price point that it used to be in. But let's just go ahead and climb inside so we can get into the individual details. Now, first of all, we'll just look around at the cabin materials. Starting on the door trim, full leather covering through here in the matching red. You have a beautiful aluminum trim. I'm sure you can also continue to get wood trim as well, and then leather across the top. The full dashboard will be covered in the leather as well. And then through the center here, we've got more of that brushed aluminum and nice materials all through here. I love the real metal shifter there. That's also super, super nice. Now, I already told you the vehicle is dead. Again, it is a prototype model, and a lot of people have been in and out of it today, but we'll still be able to go through a lot of the details. Overall, the design itself, not radically different than what it was before. However, it really didn't need a lot of updates, especially in terms of the materials and finishes. And in terms of technology, we'll be looking at the same situation. You have a lot of screens inside of here. So first of all, you have your gauge cluster display. That's going to be, pretty traditional within the Jeep lineup. But one thing that's new for 2026 is the head-up display is much larger this year. So that's going to give you a lot more information up there in the screen and put it more in line with the competition. Now, as we pull back to the steering wheel, nice 2-spoke design. Again, fully leather wrapped with the beautiful materials on board, including over the airbag cover. The upper end examples, of course, will have power tilt and telescoping steering wheel as well as steering wheel heating. Now, this is a very large SUV, so you're going to see a lot of storage as well. I'll slide that back. You can see we have this kind of secret storage cubby for your most valuable items, and then you can open up the broader console here to reveal a lot of storage. We also have the available cool box feature, so it's actually, wow, someone must have had this on. It's really icy cold inside of there. That'll keep your beverages super nice, or you can put your donuts in there to chill them out. Underneath it there, you have a couple cup holders. By the way, here's our Q fob. It has the Grand Wagoneer badging on it. There's actually a little bit more storage behind the screen. I'll talk about that in just a second. And then as we look around at the other displays, I might as well go ahead and mention those. You've got your main display here, kind of integrated in the dash. It's not the pop-up style like a lot of the competition has. And then you have your secondary display, which is used for the climate controls mostly. And then continuing for 2026 is another display, the passenger display. So you can watch entertainment and different things like that over there on that side. Now, one of the nice things about this model, though, is that most of your functions still have physical controls as well. So you have a physical volume knob for your available up to 23 speaker Macintosh audio system. You also have climate controls physically located right through there. Of course, you can see there's some beautiful details with those speaker grills up there and tweeters. And this is a very nice sounding sound system if it continues as we expect from what it was previously. Now, one of the things I do want to mention is I already told you the screens here, pointed them out. This is about 12 inches. It's the same as it was before. So that is one thing slightly disappointed in. I thought that they might upsize the screen. The big competition, of course, is the Tahoe. That's utilizing a 17-inch display, so 12 is feeling a little bit small at this point, but again, a lot of people might actually prefer that embedded look instead of the pop-up design that most of the competition has. You also will have heated and ventilated seat controls that will kind of pop up along the edges of the display as well. And this will still be running Uconnect 5.0, which will give you features such as wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. Now, as we take a look up here, we have an auto-dimming mirror. This is also a digital camera rear view mirror for when you have all those seats filled up with passengers and cargo. You have your HomeLink universal remotes. And this vehicle continues with a very unique feature that you can't even get on Escalade, for example, and that's a 3-panel sunroof. So you can see that we have the panoramic in the front, and it does open up, and then the third row gets their own dedicated sunroof.
All right, but we have got to talk about the rear seat area for this Grand Wagoneer. Now, when it comes to this really did not change for 2026, but that's certainly not a bad thing because there is so much luxury and also a ton of space here in the second row. So as far as overall legroom figures, we are sitting at some really great numbers. We're sitting at about 43 inches of legroom and about 38 inches of headroom. That places it right on par with main rivals, depending on what trim level you select, either if that's the Escalade or the Expedition or the Lincoln Navigator. It's really going to do well against all of those options. Now, additionally, you can slide this seat forward and back a very good distance. It additionally has a great recline function as well, so that really helps to maximize your comfort here in the second row. One thing I am noticing is that there's not a power second row or anything like that. They have not added that for the 2026 model year, which is something that the Escalade can get, as well as the GMC Yukon. But let's go ahead and talk about some of the features back here. So there's a lot to discuss. So you will notice that we have captain's chairs back here with this entire center console. That, of course, is going to be reserved for your higher-end examples, and that means your overall seating capacity here is going to be 7 passenger. You have 3 in the third row, and then 4 here in the main cabin area. Now, as far as this is basically the same as what you get in the center console. You have a little bit of extra storage with USBs inside, and you can also open this up, and that reveals a huge center console area. This is actually way bigger than what you get in the front, since we have that refrigerator option on this model, 2 cup holders, and then you also have this screen right here, which will control most of your functions of the rear. You have heated and ventilated seats, as well as a ton of climate adjustments, because it is a 4-zone climate setup. Additionally, you might notice that we have rear seat entertainment screens, so you really are going to be spoiled here in the rear seat area of the Grand Wagoneer, as you might expect. Vents are coming out of the center area right through here. We have 4 more charging outlets and a household style outlet as well. If you look over at the door trim, of course, we're going to have things like rear window sunshades. They're just going to be a manual rear window sunshade, so keep that in mind. But the door trim is covered from leather, top to bottom, really. We additionally have vents that come out of the B-pillar and a suede headliner. And now let's go ahead and get into the third row. So in order to get back here, they normally make it really easy. There's a button right here on the top of the seat back that you press. However, because we are completely dead, that's not going to work today. So I'm just going to kind of fold this down and then hop back into the third row. And now that I'm back here in the third row, wow, this third row is absolutely fantastic. Of course, you've grown used to that in the Grand Wagoneers of past because there is just so much room back here. We're sitting at about 37, almost 38 inches of rear legroom, and we have tons of headroom as well. And this is the standard version, actually, as a matter of fact. If you get the L, it gets even more spacious here in the third row. So this is one of the very best third rows in the entire business, that is for sure. sure. In terms of features, there's also a ton of features. As Drew mentioned earlier, you have a third row moonroof that is, specific for this. You can also, shut it up with a shade if you just want to sit back here in peace. And then over here on the side, we have quite a lot of features. We have vents over here. Additionally, we have the ability to power recline the third row of seats. If the power was working, that would go ahead and do that. And then we also have 2 USB ports for each side, a leather padded armrest, and a cup holder. And I just want to point out these windows. I think that's really something worth noting. The third row windows in this vehicle are massive. It's the biggest third row window I've ever seen, so it doesn't feel like a penalty to sit back here in the third row at all. As far as how it rates on our third row rating scale, I'm going to say this is absolutely fit for a king. Now let me go ahead and show you the cargo area. Now we will have to go ahead and insert some footage in because the tailgate is not operational on this model, but there is so much space here in the Grand Wagoneer. Of course, keep in mind that this is the standard wheelbase version and we're still looking at some really fantastic numbers. So what we're sitting at is about 28 cubic feet behind the third row of seats. Behind the second row, about 73 cubic feet, and as a maximum, you're sitting at about 112 cubic feet. There's a ton of room here in this model, and especially if you compare it against some of the rivals, such as the Toyota Sequoia, this is definitely going to have way more cargo capacity, and it is very much on par with the rivals that you'll find from General Motors, such as the Tahoe and the GMC Yukon. You also continue to have features such as a power folding third row as well as an available feature, so there's a lot of niceties when it comes to the cargo area in this model, because Jeep knows that buyers need all of the rows of seats as well as plenty of cargo capacity, and they certainly deliver that with this.
But now we've popped the hood because, of course, a big thing we have got to talk about is the innovative new powertrain option that they are adding to this Grand Highlander. But now we pop the hood because we have got to talk about the innovative new powertrain they are adding to this Grand Wagoneer for 2026. So really, they've changed up this whole system. So this is going to be one of America's first extended range electric vehicles. So what that means is that they're going to be using this 3.6 liter Pentastar V6 engine as a generator for the electric system. So this will be able to actually recharge the 92 kilowatt hour lithium ion battery pack that is underneath of this vehicle. That way, you can keep driving this model even when you run out of electric charge. Now, of course, this is a very complex powertrain situation. Again, it's using this V6 in combination with the electric motors. You also have the generator, and there's no traditional transmission either. Now, Jeep hasn't officially rated this, and neither has the EPA in terms of full electric range, but they are expecting that it will go about 150 miles on just the electric range. Plus, you have a pretty large fuel capacity as well, meaning that this will be able to go 500 plus miles, according to Jeep, on a single tank of gas and a charge. Now, like I mentioned at the introduction, this is going to be rated at 647 horsepower and 620 pound-feet of torque. So that is far and away way more power than what you would get in a Tahoe, a Yukon, an Escalade. So obviously that's going to be a big advantage in terms of that. And of course, it's just a very innovative powertrain overall. It's going to be quite quick as well. They're expecting that a 0-60 will be about 5 seconds. Now, I do want to point out that even though this is badged 4xe, Jeep is not entirely sure if that is what they're going to call this when it comes out. They also refer to it as REEV, like R-E-E-V. So we'll see how they actually badge this powertrain, but again, it's going to be a very cool powertrain when it comes out. In terms of your other choice, though, you still have a conventional option. You'll be able to get the Hurricane engine, so that is a 3-liter turbocharged inline 6-cylinder, and that'll be making 420 horsepower. But in terms of the previous high output version, which was over 500 horsepower, that's not going to be available anymore. Now, of course, this is going to continue to have an air suspension, and we look forward to fully testing this vehicle out on the road as soon as we can, but it's going to be just a little bit longer before we can get our hands on this and take it out on the street.
Now let's talk about pricing and availability when it comes to the Grand Wagoneer. So I have some pretty grand news to share with you all. So the Grand Wagoneer used to start around $85,000. Now this new model is going to start at $65,000. $68,000 or so. Now, they haven't released official pricing yet for the entire lineup. However, they have said that on the base end, it will be $65,000 after destination. So that certainly is a pretty good price reduction. Now, of course, keep in mind that, that kind of encompasses the Wagoneer trim levels as well. So that $20,000 price reduction is not all just, a bonus. It is definitely lower content-wise as compared to what the Grand Wagoneer had before. But it's certainly nice to see that you can get a pretty nicely equipped model for around $65,000. Now, this fully loaded example, this certainly will be a lot more expensive. We are expecting this to be about $110,000, as you've seen today. This is the fully loaded example with the Obsidian package as well. And when it comes to the new E-Rev model, we unfortunately do not have pricing for that. We do expect that to demand quite a bit of a price premium over the standard output Hurricane engine that you can find on this model. Now, when it comes to availability, and if you're looking to buy one, Jeep says that these are actually going to be rolling out to showroom floors very soon, so you can actually pick one of these refreshed models shortly. However, if you want the Reeve model, so this very advanced powertrain, that's not going to be available just yet. Jeep is saying that it will be available in 2026, and the most likely launch of that will be Q2 of 2026, so just a little bit longer. And if you're looking to buy one, we'd encourage you to go to carconfections.com/newcarquotes. The reason you do that is because we have a tool on our website that'll connect you with local car dealers in your area to get you the best price. It's also going to give you access to invoice pricing information, which is a great tool to use while dealer negotiating. If you'd like to take advantage of that, as well as things like our monthly payment tool, you can find a link to that in our video description down below, as well as a pinned comment. And guys, that wraps up our first look review of the heavily refreshed 2026 Jeep Grand Wagoneer. If you enjoyed watching this video or found it helpful in your purchasing decisions, which we really hope you did, we'd appreciate it if you hit that subscribe button down below. By subscribing, you're going to be a part of our Car Confections family. We have a lot of fun on this channel, and I promise you won't want to miss out. Also, you won't want to miss out as we cover the latest Jeep products, such as this Grand Wagoneer, when it officially becomes on sale and as we drive it later on. So you definitely will want to subscribe down below. If you're already a part of our family, thank you so much for your continued support. We'll catch you next time as we sample more of the latest automotive delicacies.